This is a video of this room's transformation from an office into an art studio. I hope you enjoy it. You can see everything looks a lot tidier in here now. There's nothing on the sofa. That's all empty. Still a bit of stuff in the corner there. And you can see where my fiance works here. When he wants to come in and do stuff while we're in lockdown. And this is my new desk and my new setup. My monitor's now being used properly, which is brilliant. I've got my graphics tablet there, which is set up but not quite working properly yet. And all my Prismacolor pencils have been sorted into a little sort of rotating holder. So you can see this is where my MacBook sits now. Right next to all my pro markers, which are really nicely arranged, and brush markers, and some Stabilo fine liners are there. Just a black fine liner. And then I've got some more supplies in this little nook here. So you can see I've got all my needle felting supplies in here, some wool in there. And I've got some scratching tools for black scratch marker boards, and I've also got a calligraphy / manga pen there, and some different nibs here. I've got my inks here. And this is a Winsor and Newton peat brown ink. Camera's just not quite focusing properly. And on this shelf are my pencils and my sharpeners. You can see there's a lot of pencils down here. I believe these are W.H. Smith watercolour pencils. These ones here are Faber Castell Polychromos pencils. These are Prismacolor Very Thins and Caran d'Ache pencils in here. The Prismacolor Very Thins are hard leaded versions of Prismacolors that you can use for fine detail. So this is the big Derwent glass, and here we have Derwent drawing pencils, tinted charcoal pencils and graphitin pencils, which you can add water to, similar to watercolour pencils. These are more Derwent pencils. They're Derwent Colour Soft, which means they basically have quite soft leads, so they're good for shading and just filling in big areas of colour. These are all of my sketching pencils. Most of the ones you can see in here are Derwent. Again, I have a lot of Derwent pencils. Here we have Crimson and Blake pencils and paint seals. Basically the whole barrel you can see here in these pencils is the lead, and it is very soft and easy to blend. This is another Derwent glass. So here we have Derwent Studio, which are normal colouring pencils, and Derwent Inktense watercolour pencils. We have a few more Derwent drawing pencils in here, as they wouldn't all fit in the other glass. And there's also Faber Castell pastel pencils in this jar. And that, I'm sure you'll all be pleased to hear, is the last of the pencils. So now we can move on. I apologise for this, as the camera once again didn't want to focus. There we go. Down here I have canvases, sketch pads and reference books, as well as some graphic novels. And now we have focus. You can see the top of the desk looks a little bit messy. This is where I usually do all of my artwork. I've got a notebook there, my iPad and my phone. And this is my go-to barrel, which is actually a cutlery drainer, but it works pretty well for storing all my art supplies. So here I've got some paint markers, some Posca markers, as well as some Artistro paint pens. Got those off of Amazon. And here's my palette knives. Some have had more use than others. Some water brushes, which hold water in the barrels, and you just squeeze them and it comes out the brush tip. Very handy for watercolours especially. And I've got some Edding fabric markers. This little black case actually came from a Kickstarter that I backed from a company called Games and Gears. They're very nice, sort of compact brushes, which come in two parts, which I'm just about to show you. So basically you take the two sections of the paintbrush apart. You can see it has a very fine tip there. And then you take the cap that was protecting the brush and you put it onto the other end of the paintbrush. So then you've got yourself a full length brush, which you can then use. and then you can take it apart again and protect your brush from getting split ends, basically. So this is the top drawer in the middle of my desk, which I'm using for most of my sort of technical stuff like hard drives and wires and USB sticks. I've also got some tacky glue in here and a few other bits. This is clear nail varnish, which is just useful for protecting some of my artwork, especially anything that I paint on glass, for example, or on rocks and slates. This is the next bit I've got in here, which is mortar mixable linseed oil, which I use with my water-based oil paints. Here I have my Zest It pencil blender, which is basically for blending any of my coloured pencils. I actually got the advice to use this from Kirsty Partridge. I'd recommend you give her a follow. She's very good at doing realistic pencil drawings. I will show how the Zest It pencil blender is used in another video. One of the last bits I've got in here is Waterman Paris black ink. I've also got some erasers in this drawer, a mouse there, and this is a WD hard drive. And I use that for backing up my Mac. So this is a kit I got from Amazon for needle felting. There's thumb protectors in here, there's sharp cutters, there's also the needle felting pinprick tools that you use to actually prod at the felt to shape it. Using these tools you can create projects like this little three-tailed fox I've done here. And these are eyes for my little felt creatures. Got spare water cups in here, some matte varnish, as well as some sealer. And I think I've got pastel fixative, pastel fixative right at the back there. I've got my pasta machine here, which is for my polymer clay sculptures. Printer paper at the bottom there. And this bottom shelf here, I have an unfinished project, which is a fairy that I'm currently painting up to go outside. And some polymer clay here. This box has got lots of different polymer clay bits in it. And I've got some baking powder here that I use with the polymer clay sculptures when I'm baking them. This is my paintbrushes, watercolour pans. I'll just get one of them out to show you. It's a Winsor and Newton watercolour palette. Inside there are solid watercolours as well as the paint palette that you use for mixing up the colours and a paintbrush that's included. To go with the watercolour I have got Winsor and Newton masking fluid. In this clear carry case, I have the rest of my pens. So these are all Zig Art and Graphic Twin markers made by Kuretake. So one end of these markers is a brush nib and the other end is a fine liner. Here I have a tear off palette. So basically you work on it and then once you're done with it you scrunch it up and you throw it in the bin. The paint also stays wet for longer on this palette. So in my paint box up there I have Reeves acrylic fine artist quality paints. This one's Viridian. Then there is Winsor and Newton cadmium yellow deep hue acrylic paint. I've used a small pop box that had some pens in it to contain my smaller Winsor and Newton acrylic tubes. The next tube is a small gouache paint tube, which is from Reeves. It's red ochre. I've not tried using gouache really, so I'll have to try that at one point. Last but not least, we have Winsor and Newton water mixable oil colour in phthalo green. It's been ages since I've done any oil colours, so I'll have to give that a go soon. And I have a little wicker basket of goodies here, which is for our wedding towards the end of this year. So there's some glass bottles in here, and there's another one that I've bought. I didn't make this, but I'm hoping to end up with the bottles looking like this. So I will use Mod Podge on some paper serviettes that I've got in here, which I will stick over the top of the glass and Mod Podge on. I might use some of this Celebrate ribbon as well, string, to wind around the top, and there'll be some lights going inside. These are some of the paper napkins I'm going to use. Just a nice simple animal design there, as our wedding theme is going to be rustic. And this box here, or wicker hamper, has more wedding stuff in it, which I will reveal in another video. And there's also some portfolios under here. So that is our home office / art studio. I hope you enjoyed the look around. The exercise bike is still there. My fiance uses that. And I've got a nice view outside the window to our garden here. I've got some plants on the window ledge and a few ornaments. I like dragons, so here's one of our dragons that's sitting there. A fake succulent and a real succulent, because why not? And some fake flowers, and this needle felted three-tailed fox, which I showed you earlier on in the video. The next video will be on logo / avatar design. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.